you monstrosities, and welcome to this messy review of the Fairly Oddparents A New Wish. Because being disorganized is what I thrive to be effortlessly. Before we get into it, a few things. First, we're almost at 20,000 subscribers. I'm about to cry, this is genuinely amazing. And if you want to join our family of non-functional and emotionally distressed human beings, just click the subscribe button, you won't regret it. I think. Second, I wanted to address this short I've posted on my channel called Wanda's Hypocrisy, because not only is it my most viewed video on my channel, seriously 400,000 views, but also the most criticized, in the way that I was mostly in the wrong about Wanda's statement. And the thing is, I know that. See, this short was kind of a skit. When I make a short, especially when I'm yelling, I'm mostly being unserious. For the most part, it's for shit and giggles. But I mean, I understand the reception. People who don't know me won't understand I'm being unserious. Now, am I blaming myself for this? Absolutely. Am I disappointed by all of this? Absolutely not. I've made like 60 euros thanks to this short. Why would I be mad? My point is, please follow me so you can get to know me and my channel. Now that that's out of the way, we can finally talk about the main subject. My feet! My thought on the new Fairly Oddparents show. Again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and everything. And also, you can comment your thoughts on this show and even write what was your favorite episode and why, you know, algorithm boosts. And now, let's get into it. The Fairly Oddparents was a cartoon created by Butch Hartman that first aired in 2001 and finished its run in 2017. In this one, we followed Timmy Turner, a 10-year-old boy with quite a miserable life. He gets bullied at school, his babysitter is a monster, literally, and his parents are almost always out, leaving Timmy most of the time with said babysitter. But thankfully for him, he has these fairy godparents, Cosmo and Wanda, that can grant any wishes Timmy desires, on the condition that it follows the rules that forbid him from doing bad shit, like wishing someone would fall in love with him, or order breakfast past 10:30, you know, the usual stuff. This show was a phenomenon. Even today, I don't know a single person who doesn't know what is the Fairly Oddparents. Also, a little fun fact, in my country, you know, the baguette country, there's not really an accurate translation for Fairly Oddparents. So in France, it was translated to Mes parents sont magiques, which basically means my godparents are magic. And while in the English version we call the fairies fairy godparents, or well, fairies, in mine we call them paramagiques. So magic godparents. And throughout the whole show, we never call them fairies, but magic godparents. And that got me thinking, are there also different names in other countries? Let me know in the comments, you know. Algorithm. It was fairly good in the first seasons, but it kind of fell off in the last ones, especially season 9 and 10, you know, Sparky and Chloe. And the thing is, honestly, they weren't bad ideas in concept, but the results were really disappointing, and so the show was terminated, and we were left with nothing but this show and a few nightmare-fueled live-action movies, until they decided to do a sitcom live-action called Fairly Oddparents, Fairly Odder in 2022. So, was it any good? Yeah, so as you can see, this franchise was pretty much dragged in the mud. The last few pieces of media we got from this in recent years were a real catastrophe, let's be real. So I can let you imagine how the news of a CGI reboot of this show was received. And then we had our first look at some of the characters, Hazel for example, and people began freaking out, saying they transformed Timmy into a black girl and that it was gonna be another one of those woke cartoons. Vous êtes sérieux les gens? Not only that, but it was revealed that this reboot was on a limited budget, so really we had all of the ingredients for a new failure. Until it actually came out. So, the Fairly Oddparents A New Wish takes place several years after the original. We follow Hazel, a 10-year-old girl with highly concentrated determination struggling with the changes in her life. She just moved out, her brother who was basically her rock went into college, leaving her to fend for herself. That's when she meets her new neighbors, Cosmo and Wanda, and after a messy adventure, they decide to become Hazel's godparents. Honestly, when it first came out, I was a little reticent to watch it at first, but I gave it a try, and really, it was good. I think one of the most striking things about this new show was the animation. For a limited budget, they did a wonderful job. They managed to incorporate the 2D style into 3D, and I was pleasantly surprised by how good it looked, especially the lighting. Now, I will say, the way the characters move sometimes was a little weird to me. I know it's to replicate the animation of the original, but sometimes it felt incomplete. I don't know how to explain. I'm not saying it's bad, it's mainly just a personal ick, but overall it was still pretty good. Now into the story. A New Wish isn't just a reboot, it's also a sequel. So some people were curious about how much time had passed since the original and the new show, and I think I have the answer. Some people on Twitter got their hands on the Bible of the show, which is basically an old draft of some of the episodes and characters. I'll put the link in the description for those who wants to read it. It's very interesting, like the fact that the villains in the finale were supposed to be the pixies instead of the anti-fairies, things like that. What's interesting though is that in this document, it is stated that Deldimmadome and Chip Skylark are in their 40s, meaning that at the very least, between the original and New Wish, roughly 20 to 25 years have passed, which is kind of insane to me, honestly. I also remember people being mad about Hazel being too tame with her wishes in the first half of the show compared to Timmy. Personally, I didn't mind, especially if you remember that Timmy was literally known through all fairy world because he was one of the worst god kid in terms of wishing catastrophes. Also, if I wanted to watch another child on a wild and disastrous wishes spree, I'd just watch the original. I like that we have something new. Hazel is very likable, she struggles a lot internally, and it's mostly why she was about to get a fairy originally. And yes, she deserves to have a fairy. Just because she doesn't have a comically miserable life doesn't mean she's not struggling. Let her be. Her relationship with her brother was also really sweet. Also, can we please make this running Anthony a worldwide meme? It's literally too funny. I also enjoyed the fact that Hazel has a loving family overall, especially the dad. I liked him a lot, and I enjoyed the comedy in the show. I think my favorite episode in terms of comedy was the Multiverse of Jenkins. Hazel had really funny faces. There were even callbacks to the original that were pretty fun.
I've always wanted to go to space! Again?
Another thing I liked is how cute and wholesome this show was. I don't know why I have a sweet spot for shows that makes me go "aww" every few minutes, especially Cosmo and Wanda, because yes, thank the stars for making them a wholesome and endearing couple in this one. I missed it! I don't know what's wrong with me, but I always remembered Cosmo and Wanda in the later seasons of the original having a cute relationship. I think growing up, my brain shut off all of the unhappy marriage jokes the show had. That's so weird. But in A New Wish, they actually changed dynamics a bit. Cosmo gained a few brain cells. He's still stupid but not brain dead, you know, allowing him to act more serious on problematic situations.
Think maybe you're mad because what you really wanted was impossible for any fairy to give you?
And Wanda lost a few, allowing her to be more silly at times, and they balance each other out so well, so thank you for fixing their relationship, really!
The first baby born in 1,000 years! I mean, that's what it felt like when I had him!
Oh my god, the Emperor's still canon. Yeah, another thing that's really good about the New Wish, they're not ashamed to keep some of the poor choices from the original canon and making good stuff with it. For example, in the episode 1500 Minutes of Fame, Hazel makes a wish involving time. That's when it is revealed that each wish involving time has to pass through Father Time, because of an incident that happened with a previous godchild. And I think we can easily see which one.
I secretly wish that everyone would stop aging so that I could stay 10 years old and keep my fairies forever.
What? When did you make this wish?
50 years ago?
Yikes. Yeah, that also means that most of the problems Hazel has to face is because of Timmy. He really put a toll on the entire fairy race. Also, Sparky is still canon. I wonder if Chloe is too. Oh, but Fairly Odder and the movies aren't canon. Holy fuck, thank god. Hazel's friends are pretty nice. I don't really have a lot to say about them. They're alright for Hazel's friend group. It's not that I don't like them, but I definitely didn't care as much for them as I did for another character. I'll talk about him later. And yes, finally, at the end of the season, they get to know about the fairies without some memory wipe bullcrap. It's definitely something that I would have loved to get in the original with Chester and AJ. I hope to see more of this dynamic if we get the season 2. Now, as for the actual episodes, they first aired the first 15 episodes of the season in May before releasing the rest in July. They were really good and entertaining for the most part. There were definitely some weaker ones. I'm sorry, but the dinosaur episode got me asleep pretty fast. But overall, it was pretty good. I think my favorite was episode 15, A New Development. And speaking of development...
No.
Okay, I've been waiting to talk about him. Deldimmadome, son of Deldimmadome, CEO of Dimmadome Global, and grandson of Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome, is one of Hazel's classmates, and he serves as the mean kid. I wouldn't really say bully because, well, the most he's ever done in the first half of the show is in the episode Piece of Pizza. Basically, the teacher says that if every student does one good action, they can have a pizza party, but the only student who won't do that is Dev, and we learned at the end of the episode that is because he's lactose intolerant tolerant, so he doesn't want people to enjoy their pizzas in front of him, until Hazel tells him about this new concept that is non-dairy pizza. He is mostly the annoying kid that you can ignore, but is still, well, annoying. Basically, he's a spoiled rich kid with an arrogant attitude and a bratty personality, and my favorite character, actually. Be careful how we talk about my baby. And it's not until episode 15, a new development, that we finally understand his character more. Basically, Hazel makes a witch to understand Dev more, leading to her getting paired up with him for a treasure hunt. And that's when we finally understand that his behavior is because of his father, the Ultimate Dome, who's not only a money-driven monster as well as incredibly bad for picking names, you'll see, but also incredibly neglectful of his son. It's very sad, especially if you remember the fact that he's still 9 years old. I still remember the pizza party episode where Cosmo and Wanda disguised themselves as Dev's father. I'm sorry, but in retrospect, this scene was so fucked up. Also, it's pretty funny how they took a throwaway gag character and turned him into the antagonist of this show. Anyway, after some cute development, I gotta stop with that joke, especially since it's his name.
My son. Development Devin Dimmadome.
And of course, CPS couldn't get involved. Hazel and Dev become friends at the end of the episode, and that's basically the end of the first half of the show. And after that, the reviews were kind of mixed. Some people saying it's bad, others saying it's alright. At this point, the show wasn't really popular. I would see some people talking about it, but it was pretty low, you know. Personally, I was pretty surprised and was waiting for the next part to come to fully flesh out my opinion. The creators were also pretty excited, stating that in the second part, there was going to be a plot point that would change the series. Some had their theories, but the most famous one was Dev's gonna get a fairy, isn't he? Honestly, seeing how his life was, it was pretty obvious, especially considering his notorious resemblance with Remy Buxaplenty in the original, who did have a fairy. So everyone saw it coming. What we didn't see coming, though, was who that fairy was going to be. So a little context here, this happens in the second half of the season, in the episode Founders Day. In this one, we see Dell announcing to everyone that his most precious possession in the world is his boots, in front of his son. Can anyone get custody of this kid? My god! Not only that, but Dev and Hazel fight, leaving Dev thinking she hates him. At the end of the episode, we see Dev thinking about all of this. He has no friends, his father doesn't care about him, leaving him feeling
Miserable. Hey kid, I'm Pooh. Well, at least I was. I changed my name to Perry.
And it was at this moment that the internet started to crumble. So yeah, meet Adult Poof, aka the savior of this whole show, aka the new contestant for Tumblr Sexy Man. And honestly, I think no one, and I mean no one, was prepared for this twist. Perry becomes Dev's new fairy godparent, and this shifts the show in a totally new direction, because unlike Remy in the original, Dev is almost a central character. He appears in a lot of episodes. I really like what they did to Perry's design being a mix of his parents. He has a wand swirl and Cosmo spike and eyebrows, as well as a bit of his personality from the Shorts episode back in the day. Also, I'm sorry, but I will never forgive them for taking his lashes. Where are they? Not only that, but remember when I said he was this show's savior? I wasn't kidding. Before his introduction, this show wasn't really looked upon, but after his appearance, everyone was going on and on about it, even those who didn't watch the show. And I think his design ticked the brain of the art community, because I would be confronted with Perry fan art almost every minute. Even cosplayers started showing up almost immediately. Also, please tell me I'm not the only one seeing the resemblance here. It's a really funny situation when you remember that Poof was supposed to be a somewhat kind of failed boost rating device in the original, and today he's basically stealing the spotlight. How far we've come. Remember also when people said that Hazel's wishes were too tame? Well, don't worry, because Dev is here to fulfill that role. I mean, he's not doing the apocalypse every Sunday, but let's say that summoning an ancient evil demigod ghost is pretty impressive for his first rodeo. I like how him and Hazel are polar opposite on the wishing, her being more mature and him already summoning evil ghosts. It's a really good balance, honestly. I also like his relationship with Perry, him doing the absolute worst while Perry is trying his hardest not to lose his marbles. As you can see, the show really started to take off with the fandom thanks to Perry, and they didn't stop there. In the episode Croc to the Future, they decided to bring back AJ, who decided to be built like Kingpin from Spider-Man, and also Crocker. He even named John Timmy.
Bone trebuchet.
And how could I forget about Vicky? She comes back in the episode Operation Birthday Take Back, and is still as horrible as we left her. They even play Icky Vicky during the episode. I love all the references they're making. Although people were beginning to ask how old she was, since it looked like she didn't change at all. Since Dell is in his 40s, it's safe to assume that it's the same for Vicky. My personal headcanon is that she uses the screams and despair of the children she terrorizes to stay young forever. Even the Tooth Fairy is back, and from what is said from the Bible, she's still happily with Jorgen. How sweet! What I really like about this show is that they don't just make those characters return for the sake of nostalgia. In each episode they play their part, they always have a role to fulfill, and it's very neat. Okay, but also primarily for the nostalgia, I would lie. I will gladly accept the fan service though. And thanks to all of that, a lot more people started watching the show, growing more in popularity. But I think some of you might notice there is still one character I haven't mentioned. So, little context again, after another quarrel with Dev, Barry decides to quit, leaving Dev alone with an open seat for this someone to take.
I'm Foo. Well, at least I was. I changed my name to Irem.
Of course, with all those characters returning, it wasn't long before the people started bringing the subject of the anti-fairies, and this is where Foop appears. Sorry. Irem. I like how they decided to keep the cubic head in this design, and honestly, I thought it was a good thing since that meant we avoided another Tumblr sexy man level threat like with Barry. And still people reminded me that Bill Cipher and King Dice were contestant, leaving me to shut my effing mouth. He's still as evil as before, granting Dev 3 rule wishes, and almost killing Cosmo and Wanda. I really want to defend you, Dev, but you're really not helping your case. Then Perry comes back, Irem gets sent back to the back rooms, and all's well that ends well. Except when it's not. And that pretty much leads to the finale that I will not tackle here because honestly I have so much to say about this finale that it deserves its own video. So don't forget to subscribe as to not miss it. See what I did there? As you can see, returning characters were what made this show a success. Of course, it's not only that, but it played a huge part, let's be honest. I really like what they did with this show, and when it comes out in streaming platforms, please watch it and support it because as Perry said...
Oh, they better give us a season 2!
I wish they would. Please, Nickelodeon, don't jinx it! Overall, it was a really good show. I'm happy this franchise is finally going in the right direction after the many bad decisions. And I hope to God we will get a season 2. And that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment your thoughts, and I'll see you around.